So England is top of their group and haven't lost yet at the Euros, but the way everybody's talking, you think they were heading home already. To be fair, it's understandable. They've been pretty not good, especially considering the fact that they're not exactly in the hardest group in the tournament or anything. I myself have been shitting on them a lot recently because relative to the star power on their team, they've been very underwhelming. There's been all kinds of finger pointing going on, especially between fans of different clubs that want to protect their own players. However, after the Denmark game, a lot of fingers started pointing at Declan Rice. Rice was good against Serbia, but against Denmark, he was heavily criticized for pretty much spending almost the entire game passing the ball back instead of breaking the lines and taking any risk at all. It isn't the first time we've heard Rice get these allegations. Throughout the season, he was accused of being unable to pass and just kicking it sideways or backwards. Even Arsenal fans themselves got frustrated with him at certain points, mainly because his passing was a downgrade from Xhaka, whose talents were put to perfect use by Alonso as Leverkusen were invincible in the Bundesliga. Now, is it true that Rice isn't an elite passer? Yes, but there's a lot of things wrong with the constant criticism he faces. A lot. First and foremost, the idea that Rice only passes sideways or backwards is wrong. In all the top 5 leagues, Rice was 14th overall in progressive passes this season. For progressive pass to count, it has to move the ball forward at least 10 yards, so no, he's not just booting it back to Saliba all game. Does this sting a little bit that Xhaka was first in all of Europe by a good margin? Sure, I get a little salty sometimes, and I hate that we let him go, but I'm proud of him. Even though Rice does pass the ball forward, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say he's Kroos or Rodri or anything. Rice barely actually takes extreme risks, and his vision isn't anywhere near the level of other elite midfielders. However, the real question we should be asking is, why does it have to be? You look at some other great midfielders, and most of them are not perfect in every category. Conte wasn't anything mind-blowing as a passer. He didn't have to be, though, because he was unreal defensively and in most other aspects. So what did Chelsea do? They went and got Jorginho. Casemiro was never the most insane passer, even though he was still good. His biggest strengths were winning the ball, tackling, defensive stuff. But he played with Kroos and Modric, so he didn't really have to worry about 30-yard through balls and spinning the ball between 3 defenders. Even look at the current best DM in the world, or if you don't want to call him a DM, then whatever. Doesn't really matter. I don't care. Rodri is one of the best passers and probably the best game dictator in the world right now. Defensively, though, he's not bad, but he's not as good as a lot of other midfielders, namely players like Rice. Tackling, intercepting, shutting down counters, covering for the back line. He's also world-class ball carrying-wise, and physically he's a machine. There's a reason Pep wanted to pair him with Rodri. That would have been one of the most aggravating midfields in the history of the sport. Everybody should genuinely be thanking Arsenal for saving the Prem, and honestly the rest of Europe from that shit. Now you have all these people calling Rice overrated because he's not breaking the lines like some of the best passers ever. But if you asked most of those players like Kroos to take up Rice's defensive duties while also maintaining their offensive responsibility, most of them will fold up. It doesn't help that England currently has Trent as his partner. This isn't Trent hate at all. I've already made it clear that he's one of my favorite players. But for the love of God, he's not his best in the midfield. Him being in the midfield just adds to Rice's defensive responsibility. He's being asked to cover a ridiculous amount of space while he apparently also has to handle all the defensive and offensive responsibility. Sorry, that's just never going to work out. Trent needs to go back to right back and Walker needs to see the bench. Don't even get me started on that, man. There's so many things wrong with him out there. If only England had any midfielders capable of playing next to Rice. Oh, wait, they do. Multiple, actually. Warren and Mainu are perfectly capable of partnering Rice if you want to go that route. And you might be like, well, Rice still had opportunities to pass forward against Denmark and chose to pass back. And I don't exactly disagree. Like I said, Rice has never been much of a real risk taker. We know that. However, it's being amplified here because of the manager he's playing for. Southgate and his safe football got to be the pussiest tactics on the fucking planet. The score and crawl into a shell bullshit is weak as fuck. Y'all blaming Rice for not passing forward. Shit, nobody's even running forward. Look at where everybody's posted up when England have the lead. Saka's the only one going anywhere, and Rice isn't just going to blast the ball down the right wing every time he touches it. Then you look at some of the examples people are giving for situations where Rice could have passed forward, and some of them are head-scratching. This is a compilation video that somebody online made for situations where Rice passed back where he could have passed forward. Let's take a look. 3 seconds into the video, who the hell is he passing to here? Bellingham? 50-50 chance Eriksen intercepts that, which is why Bellingham moves immediately. Not sure why this was included. I don't know what they wanted him to do here. Same here. I don't know what they wanted him to do in this situation. It's like they think this shit is FIFA, bruh. Once again, I'm not sure what pass forward he's supposed to make here. Did they want him to turn into the other defender that's pressuring him? I swear highlight comps have fried people's brains. 90% of the time, players aren't spinning away from pressure and dancing through the midfield. The majority of the time, that shit ends in being dispossessed in an instant counterattack. Players don't want to do that dumb shit. Here, once again, who the fuck is he passing to? There's no sensible options in front of him. Here you could have argued he could have skipped it over to Saka, but he gives it to Walker, who could have did that anyway without risking an easy interception. Instead, Walker's the one who passes it back. Yet Rice is getting blamed for this. Again, I could really get into Walker and whatever he got going on when it comes to Saka on that right side, but I'll save that for another day. Again, here, who the fuck is he supposed to pass it to? Everybody's just standing around with their defender like they're best friends. There's no runs being made. Besides Walker, who he passes it to, is just a bunch of easy interceptions. Once again, here, what exactly is the criticism? Nobody's running anywhere. All I'm seeing is interceptions. So he makes the only sensible pass. This is the worst one yet. I seen somebody post this one on Twitter. Do y'all think the defenders are just cones? That the ball is just going to fucking teleport through them? There's only one logical pass here, and he probably would have passed it right back to Rice. The fuck? Now, I do agree that he could have made more turns into space so he could actually carry the ball more, and there were situations where he was too quick to give the ball back to players behind him. This was a pretty bad one. However, he was probably expecting pressure here and just made a quick panicky pass. That's on him, kinda. Rice's unwillingness to take 50-50 risk is even more amplified under Southgate, who coaches like a little bitch. The lack of runners doesn't help either, especially because Kane is getting old. Saka's like the only player in the starting 11 that actually makes runs. Every game there's a new scapegoat with England. I feel like it's worse with them than with other countries. There's nothing wrong with criticisms at all, but like, come on. We gotta actually think about context before attacking players sometimes. Motherfuckers will say anything to take the heat off of players at their own clubs. I lost count of how many times Drew lost the ball, but sure, let's blame Rice because everybody on the pitch decided to do the Black Beatles challenge the whole game. The way it's looking, especially with Southgate still at the helm, England might be heading towards another disappointing Euros exit. They'll make the knockouts, no doubt about it, but that first match against a big team is going to be a crazy wake-up call. They gotta get it together.